Good evening, one and all, and welcome to a special edition of the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. This weekend, this Memorial Weekend, we've got something really big, really exciting happening in Queens, and that's the Guyana Cup. All right, 6 teams, 9 matches, one winner. All right, and we'll be talking about that this evening. All right, with our panel. So please stay tuned, like, share the broadcast, gather your friends around, take your juice, your glass of water, whatever. All right, and we'll be back shortly. This is the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast.
Imagine being a part of a great adventure, one filled with sweet and glorious uncertainties. Imagine being a part of an adventure beloved by 2.5 billion people and counting. Imagine that you are there with the legends, with the local stars, with the ardent fans, with the historians, with the greats of tomorrow. Oh yes, you can become part of the great adventure by joining the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast.
Bits N PIeces NYC is a Chichester Group presentation hosted by Sunday Anansi.
All right. Like I said, we're with the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast, and this evening, it's a special evening. We're going to be discussing the Guyana Cup. Of course, most Guyanese, most of us over here and in Guyana, it's our Independence Day, so happy Independence to all. Gentlemen, please introduce yourself, and I begin with Lenny.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Anansi. I'm Lenny Achaibar, popular commentator around, and I'll be part of the Guyana Cup starting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Matthew?
Thanks, Anansi, for having us on. Matthew Achaibar, son of Lenny, also commentator that will be covering the Guyana Cup 2023.
Okay, great. And Samuel?
Thank you, Anansi. Samuel Mahabir here. I am one of the members from the planning committee of the Guyana Cup.
All right. Short, nice, tight, and brief. All right. It's the Guyana Cup weekend. Let's play this promo, and then we'll be back to get into the conversation. Please like, share the podcast.
Lovely cricket this Memorial Weekend at the Cage and Paisley Pond in Jamaica, Queens, New York. The New York National Cricket League presents the Guyana Cup 2023. 6 teams, 9 games, 1 winner. See the best of the best in what is sure to be an exciting contest with the Demerara Eagles, the Berbice Lions, the Essequibo Jaguars, the USA Guyana Majestics, the Long Island Raptors, and the Queens Sharks. The Guyana Cup 2023 this weekend, May 27th and 28th.
All right. Samuel, tell us, as a member of the Guyana Cup committee, just give us, tell us what's happening this year. Tell us what's happening this weekend.
Thank you, Anansi. So, Guyana Cup 2023, that's the second edition of the Guyana Cup for those who have been following this tournament from last year, which was a very successful and growing tournament here in New York, Queens, New York. So, Guyana Cup, which is a tournament being played here in New York, Queens, New York, is basically a tournament that is promoted and planned under the New York National Cricket League banner. And we are looking to promote the wide range of Guyanese talent that we have here in the U.S. We all know here in the U.S., especially New York, the wide range of talent that we see here every summer when it comes to cricket. It gives everyone over here the opportunity to showcase their talent on a wider stage, I would say. So this year, as compared to last year where we had 4 teams compete in the tournament, we actually took it one step further just to, make the tournament a little bit more interesting and provide more games for not only the players, but for the fans and the local viewership. So coming back from last year, we would have the Berbice Lions, the Demerara Eagles, and of course our defending champions, the Essequibo Jaguars, which actually defeated Demerara Eagles in the finals last year. For this year, we have 2 additional teams, which was the Queens Shark and the Long Island Raptors. I also did not mention a returning team from last year, which is the USA Guyana Majestic Panthers, who will be looking to make a mark this year. So yeah, that's a little bit on the Guyana Cup this year. We have 6 teams packed with tremendous talent, and we're just hoping to see all of that talent explode in wonderful T20 cricket.
Sorry about that. Lenny, give us a little background. I know, you've been around, you've watched thousands of games since being in New York. So let's get a little historical perspective.
So, Anansi, this is a concept. The intercounty concept is one that started way back in Guyana. And like anything else, Guyanese have always been very cultural. I mean, wherever they settle, any part of the world, they not only have taken their food or their music or their culture, they have also taken a brand. They've also taken the brand, and that brand is the intercounty games. Now, we all know that game originated back in Berbice and Essequibo in Demerara, in Guyana. And like anything else, Richmond Hill, Queens, which is a hot spot for Guyanese community. When cricket began playing here for some time, I recall it might have been in 2004 when someone came up with the idea and said, you know what? We've got a lot of Berbician here. We've got a lot of people from Demerara. We've got a lot of people from Essequibo. But why don't we play a tournament that reflects Guyanese culture, and a tournament that has attracted so much interest over the years in Guyana to be a part of the cricketing landscape in New York? Now, we all know what goes on, for example, at the international level. Premier leagues have become a common title being called to any tournament. You go to the park and somebody's playing a little street tournament and they call it some Premier League. Same thing with Big Bash. There's so many bashes around that we tend to want to borrow the names of tournaments and things that have been successful. The intercounty Guyana one was a very healthy one for Guyanese. When you look at the Guyanese structure and the way we became, and when I say we, West Indies became a test playing nation, it was because of, for example, before countries got independence, we saw a lot of intercolonial cricket happening in the Caribbean, involving Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, and somebody else I'm leaving out, Barbados. Right?
Yeah.
So, but that was more, that tournament in 1891 was called the Intercolonial Series, that, later on we would know that to be Shell Shield and what sort. But in Guyana, Berbice, Demerara, and Essequibo came together to play the first set of Guyana intercounty games. That was in 1954. And Anansi, I know you had a lot of guests on this program. People like Basil Butcher and Rohan Kanhai can reflect how strong the intercounty in Guyana helped them to play at the highest level. And if you talk to any older players from Guyana, and they'll tell you, if I haven't played first class cricket or Shell Shield for Guyana, the next level under that would have been the Guyana intercounty games called the Jones Cup. And then, of course, later on, those names would have changed because of sponsorship and people who on the road those tournaments. But the original Jones Cup featured the three counties of Guyana, and it was in 2004. And there is a name I'm going to call here, a man by the name of Insaf Birdman Ali. He ran the first ever Guyana intercounty, and that match was played in the cage. I did that match. It involved Demerara and Berbice, and later on, from 2004 then on, they included Essequibo, and so that's how that tournament was really born in New York. And so we come to the Guyana Cup 2 in 2023, but this tournament has really evolved, first of all, in Guyana, and then, of course, from 2004 at the cage, which will be one of the venues used tomorrow. So the tournament has a long history, very rich, and I'm very grateful that we have preserved a little bit of exciting intercounty cricket in Guyana. And as Samuel Mahabir pointed out, it's the second year, and this tournament plans to be a grand one this weekend.
All right, so we've kind of transplanted the tri-county spirit, and we're even expanding it now. All right, with the other teams, making it giving it a little more international flair. All right, thank you for that background.
Yeah,
all right, you're on to the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast, and this evening we're talking about the Guyana Cup that's happening this week.
Lovely cricket this Memorial Weekend at the Cage and Paisley Pond in Jamaica, Queens, New York. The New York National Cricket League presents the Guyana Cup 2023. 6 teams, 9 games, 1 winner. See the best of the best in what is sure to be an exciting contest with the Demerara Eagles, the Berbice Lions, the Essequibo Jaguars, the USA Guyana Majestics, the Long Island Raptors, and the Queens Sharks. The Guyana Cup 2023 this weekend, May 27th and 28th.
Okay, my first question, and this would be for Lenny and Matthew. I don't want Samuel to get tied up, showing any kind of preference. So, gentlemen, Matthew and Lenny, can the Essequibians repeat? All right, can the Jaguars repeat and be the champions in the Guyana Cup this year? Matthew, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we looked at that Essequibo Jaguars team last year, a team that throughout the years has perhaps been a little bit, has fallen short many times. The first time they've won, whether it was the Guyana Cup or back when it was known as the regular intercounty games. Finally, the Essequibo Jaguars got something to cheer about last year. They had a very well put together team. It will be interesting this year, given we do have 2 new teams coming into the tournament. Makes things just a little bit more difficult. But it's wide open. I think one thing for the Essequibo Jaguars is that the fact that they've lost Ronaldo Rennie to the Demerara Eagles, big part of their team last year, him and Raymond Perez was a lethal opening partnership. So I feel not having him there is going to be a big loss for them. So it'll be interesting. I do think it will be difficult given there are 2 new teams, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's a young team. It's a team that's really been motivated after last year, so anything can happen.
Your thoughts, Lenny?
Yes. So the Jaguars will take on Demerara first tomorrow at 9:00. So I would think that the Jaguars do have a very strong core. These are members. Most of the members of this team comes from the MMZ lineup that plays in the Premier Division of NYNCL, and when you look at it, when you look at the teams in this tournament, there are a couple of teams. The Majestic brand and the Essequibo Jaguars. They're more of 2 teams that play regularly in Premier Division. When you look at Essequibo Jaguar, they consist of a lot of the MMZ players. So that should have to be an advantage. But as Matt says, they will probably have to do without Ronaldo Rennie, who has gone with another franchise this year, but still a lot of good talent in the Essequibo Jaguar. They'll be led by Loknath Chinku, He's a top player. And then, of course, we've got the likes of Ushardeva Balgobin, who's been in very good form. Ryan Raj Mangal, very attacking player. I think he's going to be very key at the top of the order. And then, of course, we've got the likes of Emmanuel Sicharan, a man with minor league experience. The youngster Chetram Balgobin, Sehodan, and Raymond Perez, Mohamed Shah, and the likes of Marvin Prashad. So they're going to be a tough bunch to beat. And may I add, they come with a very strong supporting staff. Ijaz Asgarali and the crew, Dave Narain and everybody else, they come to the park, and I bet you tomorrow their tent will be the most populated tent, the Essequibo tent. If you're looking for something to eat, go to the Essequibo tent. They're all well stocked. They come with a big crowd, and that alone can spur you on to do very good on the cricket field.
I think we gotta be a little careful with the one. If you want something to eat, I got them SQ banners in some trouble.
Yes.
Samuel, tell us a little bit more about the people who formed the Guyana Cup committee, and what are you guys hoping that to see come out of this weekend? Just tell us a little bit more about the people behind it, and what's going on.
Well, first, our objective is very simple. Bigger, better cricket for all. I know the Guyana Cup is centered mostly around the Guyanese public, but our idea here is to push the level of cricket to a new standard. Better competition, better athletes, better viewership, and overall, we just want the community to come out and enjoy cricket for what it is, the love for the game, and we believe this tournament can do that. In terms of the committee, it's head by Ramesh. Ramesh, who is the president of the New York National League, myself, and other individuals, such as Dilly out of Liberty Sports Club. And that's about it, to be honest with you. It's a small group. And in addition to the planners, we do have the panel who we have here today, who has been very supportive of the Guyana Cup, helping us along the way, putting everything out in the media. Both Matthew and Lenny, they do a great job each year for us in the commentary. I don't think we can get better than that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Let's get down to the captains, and my two commentators will give me their take. We'll start off with Demerara Eagles and Avi Dan Paul, Matthew and Lenny. You kind of give the audience a kind of sense of what they might be looking at, what they might be getting from each captain, or what do you think are the strengths, the weaknesses, etc. So we'll start off with Avi.
Go,
Matthew.
Yeah, Avi Danpal, I think probably one of the best batters in this tournament. When you look at the sheer amount of runs that this man has made in the last few years playing for Phoenix Cricket Club, his leadership as well, very very experienced player, very good leader. It'll be interesting to see where Avi Danpal kind of slots himself. Obviously, being a captain comes with a lot of responsibility. And we've seen at times his role can kind of change. And in fairness, it's because he's a very versatile player. He can play a variety of different roles. So it will be interesting to see, depending on the situation, how he slots himself and how he utilizes himself in this Demerara Eagles batting lineup. But regardless of where he goes, number one, he was their captain, number one pick. I think very good one there for the Demerara Eagles. Very good man to have in Avi Danpal.
Lenny?
Yeah, the only thing I've noticed with Avi Danpal, and since he has taken on captaincy for example, Phoenix, and he's been part of the Demerara side, I've seen him in the ICF Cup. The only issue I have with Avi Danpal is that because it appears that he's the captain of units, he bats himself too late. Avi Danpal is a 4-5 number 6 batsman, 4, 5, and 6. I saw him this week at the cage, and if I'm not mistaken, he batted at 7 or 8. He brought the game home. But in my opinion, since he has taken over captaincy of units, whether it's Phoenix, Indo-Caribbean side, or now coming on to Demerara side, I want to see Avi Danpol in a T20 game. You got to give this man an opportunity to face deliveries. If he comes at 6 and 7, not much is remaining. I know he can hit the ball. I would want to see Avi Danpol for Demerara tomorrow. 4, 5, the latest.
All right. That's Avidan Paul, and he is the captain for the Demerara Eagles. Let's go to the USA Majestics, Guyana USA Majestics, and Matthew.
Yeah, the USA Guyana Majestics. This is a team that is going to be very interesting because going into last year's tournament, I know a lot of us would have said the USA Guyana Majestics was probably the best looking team on paper. And to the surprise of all of us, they actually went out in their first game they played. Obviously, last year with the 4-team tournament, 2 games, it can be a bit cruel sometimes. You've got to get it right on game 1. The USA Guyana Majestics, they didn't. They were quite disappointing in their first game. They've got a good leader in Derek Narain. And I go back to saying interesting team because the USA Guyana Majestics, like Dad mentioned at the start of the conversation, they're a team that plays together. They're a core group of players. That is because they do have their local team, Majestic, and they are one of the best teams in the New York National League. This year, when you look at guys like Derek Narain, Chris Patadin, Wasim Haslim, a lot of experience, and they're core guys. They play with each other every week in, week out. So Derek Narain, another player that has 2 years of minor league cricket experience with the Philadelphians under his belt as well. One of the most destructive players that you'll see in this Guyana Cup when he gets going. Quality bowler as well. Overall, good captain. One of the best captains to have, a genuine all-rounder. Guy with a lot of experience, and that's Derek Narain. And core team, like I said, good leadership. And they'll be hungry. They'll be very determined to get things right this year after a very less than stellar last year.
Yeah,
Thank
Derek.
you for that, Matthew. Go ahead, Lenny.
Derek Narain is going to be a good leader for this team. When you look at the squad, there's nobody befitting to lead this team than Derek Narain. Years of experience, and let's not forget we previewed Avi Danpol, we previewed Derek Narain. We must remember, in addition to captain, they're the number 1 batsman for their team, so they have a couple of dual roles to play. Derek Narain goes out here along with probably Chris Patterson at the top of the order. And he, apart from being the captain, he's their number 1 batter. And Derek Narain, like Matt mentioned, and the Majestic crew will be hoping that they get it right this time. In this year's competition, and if I'm not mistaken, Mahabir, teams will play 2 games. So a chance, it's not a sudden death tournament this time. But like Matt mentioned, Majestic will want to prove a point this year after an embarrassingly 2022 early exit on day 1.
Okay, tell us a little more about the actual running of the competition, Samuel, in terms of, okay, for the first round, what happens, the second round, what happens, and tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So after the first year tournament, as Lenny just mentioned, Majestic winning out on the first strike, we felt that the tournament was a little bit too short. We wanted to make the game a little bit more interesting. So that basically brought about the inclusion of 2 additional teams, taking the tally to 6. And with 6 teams total, this would give each team the opportunity to play twice and fight for that top 4 position, which will go on to play the semifinals and finals on May 28th, which is Sunday. Basically, each team plays twice, and top 4 after the table is done will proceed to the second round.
Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's continue with the captains, and this one is Karan Sunarain. Matthew.
Yeah, Karan Sunarain, big responsibility when you look at this Queens Sharks lineup. Very talented lineup. Karan Sunarayan, quality all-rounder. Will be interesting to see how he leads a team, how he leads the Queen's Sharks, obviously coming in with that new franchise into the tournament. And Karan Sunarayan right away will be the man, will be the face of the franchise right at the start of the tournament.
Okay, Lenny.
Yeah, Karan Sinarain, a very young individual. You'll have a lot of, you will have a, you will have a lot of big players to really marshal. We have seen the like of Bhaskar Yadram. Gajanan Singh has been added to the squad in the last couple of days. Then of course we've got Ronaldo Ali Mohammed out of Guyana, one of their overseas pick. And so Karan Sinarain will have a lot to bank on, a lot to go on for help. But this Queen Sharks is a powerful put together lineup on paper. And remember, they'll be making their debut tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting to see how Karan Sinarain leads a hungry pack of players, talented bunch of players. And their first game comes up against the Berbice Lions. And that match is on the prime venue. It's at Baisley Pond Park with full live coverage. They will take on Berbice Lions. So the Queen's Shark will be hoping that they get an early bite into the tournament as they take on Berbice Lions. But Karan Sinarain, a big opportunity for this young man to lead the side. And I'm pretty sure that the Sharks, they're up to something tomorrow.
Okay. They're going to be hunting. Look at the bite. All right.
Yeah, and by the way, Anansi, you've done a good job. You've done a tremendous job in highlighting the captains. I like that.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the defending champions. Machu.
Nicholas Chinku, not many better batsmen in this tournament. He's gonna be right up there. You've got some quality batters in this tournament. I will say that. A lot of batting strength from all the teams. And Nicholas Chinku is certainly one of them. Great captain as well. Essequibo Jaguars, again, as we mentioned, keeping their core together. Nicholas Chinku is one of those. Big moment for him again, looking to go 2-2 for the Essequibo Jaguars. Very consistent player, good leader as well. So expecting big things from Nick Chinku.
Okay, Lenny.
Yeah, this Essequibo Jaguars team, and I got to tell you, Essequibo has always been knocking on the door over the years. Never won the tournament. But 2022 was such a good year for them. They were able to cross the finish line ahead of everyone else. Loknath Chinku leads a very power-packed Essequibo Jaguars team. He's a top player, Nicholas Chinku. He can give you a good 4 overs of off-spin. But some players to watch out for in this Essequibo Jaguars team, Ryan Rajmangal. He's in good form. Ushadeva Balgobin, he's a talented young cricketer. And Marvin Prashad, he can really get going. We've seen Emmanuel Sicharan part of the unit this time. And so it's going to be interesting to see how, and the likes of Andy Mohammed, Kelvin Shupersad, we've seen Raymond Perez. He's going to be a key man in this lineup. And the Essequibo Jaguars, they will be the team under pressure tomorrow because they are defending from 2022.
Okay. Samuel, how many overseas players do we have, that would have actually kind of flew in for this tournament?
A lot, actually. To put an exact number on that, I don't have that data, but quite a lot. Almost every single team, all 6 teams, would have had international flown in from some part of either the Caribbean or Toronto.
Okay, great. All right. Moving on with the captains. Machu.
Doesn't get much better when you look from a captaining perspective than Renwick Batson, doesn't it? We've seen this man year in, year out with many different teams, whether it's in the Indo-Caribbean games, whether it's in the National League or the Guyana Cup. Renwick Batson, such a good leader, such an experienced man, and wherever he goes, silverware seems to follow. Renwick Batson, another all-rounder, like I said. I'd love to have players like that as a captain. Can bowl some very good overs, give you the runs as well. So Renwick Batson, that experience alone is going to be a huge boost, especially again for another new franchise in the Long Island Raptors, a team that would have, I guess you would say, a disadvantage compared to the 4 teams we had from last year. Same with the Queen Sharks as well. Probably going into this tournament with the disadvantage of not having really much of a core and not really having a team that has gelled as much. Having a guy like Renwick Batson, who is a born leader, perfect for a first year for the Raptors.
Okay, thank you much, Lenny.
Yes, Anansi, like Essequibo Jaguars and on the Majestic Crew, Renwick Batson leads a side that resembles a little bit of the Black Panthers in the Premier Division of National League, and I'll tell you why. With Akeem Dotson plays with him on Sunday, Uta Monroe plays with him on Sunday. I would want to think that, and I'll tell you what, they've brought in 3 big guns for this tournament. Just added a couple of days ago. Anthony Bramble, he needs no introduction to Guyana cricket. Anthony Bramble should be here tomorrow. I know they were playing in a tournament in the Virginia area called the Unity Cup, and I think their team got knocked out yesterday, so the boys should be ready to go. So expect Anthony Bramble tomorrow. Expect Raj Nanan, another top leg spinner out of the Demerara Cricket Club. He should be here tomorrow because their team lost. And then, of course, the local Alex Amsterdam, who used to be with Atlantis. I think he's playing with Black Panthers now. So here, Renwick Batson will have a little bit of a core to work with. And this is their first time they're playing tomorrow. Let's see who they got. Long Island Raptors will take on the Majestic Panthers tomorrow. That should be an interesting game. And that game, of course, will be at Drew Park. So Renwick Batson leads a very good unit. And they've got the likes of Bramble and Alex Amsterdam and Raj Nanan added to the squad in the last 72 hours. This is a team to watch.
Okay. So we're gonna have some last minute intrigue. Now going towards the last minute intrigue. I've noticed that Barbie's Lions, they don't seem to have named the captain yet. What do you think is going on there, Lenny?
Well, initially at the draft it was Zamal Khan, but I looked at the updated squad and I think from the officials, and I see Hemendra Ramdehal name at the top of the order. And if we follow the pattern of how the teams were listed, I wouldn't be surprised that Hemendra Ramdehal leads the side. He's had leadership experience, and I'm pretty sure that the Berbice Lions could rely on Hemendra Ramdehal to lead the side. And if they do, I don't see a problem with that at all. He's a quality player. He's been around the local scene for some time. He's a good player, good all-rounder, can give you good spin options, and he's a very quality batter. The only other person that probably they may want to look at, but I rather doubt if Berbice Lions may want to go back to Karan Ganesh. Karan Ganesh in the past have captained the Berbice Lions. Nothing wrong with that, but I want to think come tomorrow, Hemendra Ramdehal will be leading the charge.
Okay. Samuel, what kind of prizes are we looking at in terms of the cup?
Well, we have cash incentives and trophies. The entire tournament were capped at a $4,000 cash prize. Winner takes 3, runner-up takes 1 with trophies.
Okay. Any special prize? Anybody coming in with special prizes for 6s and 4s, etc.?
At the moment, we don't have anything like that planned, but you never know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Matthew, in terms of scores, what's your guess as to what's going to be like the biggest total in this tournament, and who would you have to put that total on the board?
Well, maybe predicting a total is probably the hard part. Predicting which team might probably make it, to me, is maybe the easy one. When I'm looking at this Queens Sharks lineup, and we made mention of this on the night of the draft. Every time Satish Dwarka, who was the representative of the Queens Sharks, every time he handed us the envelope and we read out a player's name, the anticipation in it was probably more than any other team. And it's for good reason, because when you look at this team, Bhaskar Yadram, Dino Chawinam, Raymond Ramratan, Shiv Sangalima, Ronaldo Mohammed, Terence Majramutu, some of the biggest hitters around in the New York area. If all of those guys, or even if 2 or 3 of those guys can get going in a game, it's gonna be carnage. It's going to be carnage, and they can clear any ground. So if the Queen Sharks really get going, which it is going to be difficult because there are 5 other very talented teams just waiting to take them down. You know the saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. But if the Queen Sharks can really live up to those expectations, expect a big score, maybe around 215, 220, maybe even more if they get going. But given what we've seen in T20 cricket, not only in New York, but in the country and around the world as well, the game has really evolved into a game, especially T20 cricket, where no total seems to be safe. Like how many times we see it at the higher levels of the game, a team has been making 220 in T20 games and are still losing. So I do expect it to be a very high scoring tournament, especially at Paisley Pond Park, very high scoring ground, good wicket, good outfield. But yeah, expect some high totals from the Queen's Sharks.
Your take, Lenny.
Yeah, I agree. Look, we we have just witnessed most of the IPL, and Matt is right. It has been probably one of the highest scoring IPL, and that is because T20 cricket has evolved in such a way that there's so people have really beginning to master some technique to score upwards of 180 and 190. And then, of course, you have got 2 small grounds in this tournament. When you go to the cage, easy to clear cage, right? You'll take your chances. You'll take your chances. Either you've got a very thick bat, you've got a strong shoulder, or you've got quick bat swing. Even if you miss hit a cage, that's gone for 6, right? Drew Park, not a big venue. The only full-size venue here is the Paisley Pond Park. But as Matt mentioned, probably one of the better wicket of all the 3 games, and very fast outfield. So I'm pretty sure that boys will be hoping that they really can put a total that is considered safe in these days of T20 cricket, and that's in the range of 180 upwards. I think 140, 150 may not cut it this time, but we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a high-scoring tournament. I predict that.
Okay. Now, going with that prediction, Lenny, let's continue along the line in terms of high scoring. Which 2 or 3 batsmen are you looking to excel in this tournament?
Yeah, there's so many to choose from, Anansi, but let me take a look. Let me take a look here. For example, you look at the Achaibar Jaguar. I like Raj Mangal in this side. I like him. He's a very attacking player. He likes to get going early. Raymond Perez is another player that can accumulate runs. I'm pretty sure that he'll be trying to get out of the blocks early. I like Raj Mangal and I like Raymond Perez. Loknath Chinku is another player from the Achaibar Jaguars team. If you look at Queen's Sharks, Bhaskar Yadram is going to be a key man. Dino Chawinam and Gajanan Singh. What for those? Shiv Sangalima, if he gets going, he can hit the ball to any part of the ground.
Okay,
Matt, you want to take 2?
Yeah, Matt, any particular batsman you're looking forward to see some fire from, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think Raymond Perez and probably Ronaldo Rene are the 2 standouts for me. And like I said, they would have both been on the Achaibar Jaguar side last year. Part of the reason the Jaguars were so successful this time. This time Ronaldo Rene will be suiting up for the Demerara Eagles. But when we saw these 2 last year, Raymond Perez, Ronaldo Rene, both natives of Guyana, came over to play here for the summer, and they're doing the same this year as well. And just everything about them was just so amazing. The amount of runs that they managed to get and their strike rate as well, whether it's even in the not only in T20, but even in the 30, 40 overs, they were still managing to score very quickly. So Ronaldo Rene and Raymond Perez, I think, will be 2 of the very dominant batsmen in this tournament. Nicholas Chinko as well, Derek Narayan, I think, are 2 other names to definitely throw in there. But yeah, we mentioned already it's going to be a pretty high-scoring tournament. And with high scores, you can have some pretty unsung heroes that, because remember, in a short tournament, if one man scores 80 runs in a game, automatically they're going to shoot right at the top of the run scoring charts in such a short tournament.
Okay, great,
And
great.
Nancy, before probably you go on, some other big names playing in this tournament. Chandrapal Hemraj, he's gonna be interesting. Akshaya Prasad out of Guyana, Chandrapal Hemraj. They're gonna be some big batters in this tournament. So it's so hard to pinpoint a guy that can score a lot of runs. Not getting Akshay Hamraj. He's the only Centurion of the Guyana Cup. 1 year of the Guyana Cup, year number 2. Akshay Hamraj, the only Centurion so far. Dominic Ricky, another player from the Berbice Lion. Joshua, not Joshua Prasad, he's not he's not here, but Moshin Pir Khan, Karan Ganesh, Hemendra Ramdihal. All right, Chris Patadin. There's some big names in this tournament. Trevor Henry, Jamal Hickson, Francis Mendonca. Anybody can make runs. There's a lot of good players in this tournament.
Okay, anybody can make us. Samuel, do we have any special guests that would have been invited to, come on and either bowl the forest ball or watch the proceedings, anything like that?
Our special guest for this tournament is our lovely community.
Okay, great, great. Yeah,
We're hoping to see everyone out there.
I like that. I like that. All right, now, Matthew, let's look at the bowling a little, and let's look at it from this angle. It's the last over, and maybe the 10 runs needed from the batting side. Who do you put the ball?
Good question. This context will definitely need a lot. Will influence the decision there a lot. When you look at bowling, I think in this tournament, I know especially the night of the draft, the first few picks from the teams are mostly batters or batting all-rounders, but the bowling is really something that will be interesting because for a start, I think it will be highly spin. I think it'll be a lot of spin. It'll be dominated by some top quality spinners. When you look at some of the names in these lineups, you got the likes of Raymond Ramratan, who will be showing up for the Queen's Sharks. Hemendra Ramdihal. Keshram Sihodan is a name, to be honest, we didn't hear in the draft. He was pulled in. He was added in later on. I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't picked up the night of the draft. Top quality spinner there. And many other more. Karamchand Ramnarayan from the Majestics is also a very nifty bowler as well. Checharam Balgobin. Ushar Deva Balgobin, if he bowls, I mean, he hasn't been bowling perhaps as much as I would like him to, but when he does get the ball, very good bowler. Pace-wise as well, we don't have some bad options pace-wise either. Deveshwari Prasad, very underrated player in my opinion, not just as a bowler, but as an all-rounder as well. And particularly in those death overs, I think Deveshwari Prasad is one man from the pace perspective I would really trust in getting those hard overs at the end done. Jeremy Gordon as well. We've got the Canadian pacer, very quick. We've seen him at the international level playing for the Canadian national side. He's a name that has been thrown into the mix. So I think the bowling it'll be interesting, but I do think it'll be largely dominated by spinners this year.
Okay, your take, Lenny.
Yeah, you're right on that, Matt. Tristan Carmichael. The beauty of Tristan Carmichael, he can bowl both. He can bowl both ends. We tend to forget that the power play session is also a part of like a little title death. You still got to bowl tight, only a couple of fielders outside, and I think Tristan Carmichael is a very good addition. He comes in the same vein as Raj Nanan. And don't forget the other off spinners, the likes of Mahendra and the other off spinner, Nicholas Chinku, can give you some. Avi Danpal. You look at Bhaskar Yadram, he's going to bowl some nifty medium pace anywhere in the order. Derek Narain himself, Chris Patadin, very unusual action. And they're going to be, they're there to spring some surprises. And of course, like anything else, Anansi, we always tend to look forward to some of the big names. But come tomorrow, I'm pretty sure some new stars will be born.
Okay. So I guess, Samuel, you and the rest of the Guyana Cup team, you will be hoping that some new stars Arbonne, right?
Yep, that's the hope and dream. We called a lot of household names a few minutes ago, and in addition to those names, we have quite a few new talent that's coming on board this year. So we're very excited to see them. We're excited to see them come and take the Guyana Cup by storm. Some of the new names entering, there's so many. For example, we have Mahindra V Prasad actually, who is an unknown talent
Yeah.
to Premier Division, but since he came up to Premier Division in the New York National, he's been tremendous, already scoring a 50, a century as well in as little as 3 matches. Each team has tremendous new talent, and we're hoping to maybe see one of those guys break a few records tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. So can we expect? You think we're gonna get more than one Centurion, Lenny? It's looking that way.
Well, I'm tempted to say that the batting is good, but when you look at the bowling is good also. So it's gonna be a bit of a friction, force against force, trying to pull together or against each other. So the bowling is very good. The batting is good. It's gonna be hard for us to decide how many centuries tomorrow, but it's a longer tournament, so a chance for team to play 2 games this time, and perhaps as you win, you probably play more games. The team that wins the tournament will play 4 games, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So you never know. The team that really goes deep into the tournament has a very good chance with their batters out there. And you look at the squads, it could be anybody tomorrow and Sunday.
Okay, all right. Rewinding now, Matthew. I've heard your voice from where you were maybe that short next to your father commentating.
Yes.
You've been around. What would you like to see happen a little bit more to help encourage young people like yourself to get involved in the sport, whether from your end, from a journalistic end, or as a player, as a fan? What do you think should happen to help encourage young people like yourself?
I think this tournament is really a fantastic way to do it. And I have to credit guys like Ramesh, like Samuel, for everybody that has helped put together this tournament from last year and even before when it was known as just the regular inter-county games. I think this is a really good way to start it. The expansion is one thing to really attract the players. We look at all 6 teams. They've been stacked up quite a bit with young players who, regardless of whether they get to play or not, still the experience, the learning experience, and if they do get to play, they will definitely get to showcase their talent. So having 2 new teams coming in, having all of these young players, it's good from a playing perspective. Last year, from a fan turnout, we had probably a record attendance for a tournament like this in the New York area. Baisley Pond Park last year was stacked. A lot of people, huge crowds to see the Guyana Cup in action last year. And I think this year with two new teams, it's probably only going to increase. From a fan perspective, that's really where it starts. In order to be a player, you have to foresee the game first. You can't get into anything else without ever watching the game. So you have to watch the game first. You got to really be invested in it, really take the time to really understand it inside out, which is what I did a long time ago when I was still little. From a journalistic perspective, and to really get into the commentary, it's for me it didn't take a lot. It certainly helped that my dad is obviously a commentator and has been doing this for way longer than I have, but you don't need that, to be honest. I think if I got it all from international games and by just watching and just being so wrapped up in everything that was happening at such a young age. And I think that's one thing that a lot of kids my age or even younger, that's the first step, to really commit yourself, to really learn as much as you can and to really do your research, because it's not an easy thing. Anybody can go out there and call a game and describe the action that's happening to you out on a cricket field. Not many people can add the flair, add the art, add the humor to it, and really have the voice and really express themselves and to really make it something of a career, kind of. which is what both me and my dad have done. We've really turned commentary into New York. We've expanded it country nationwide when you look at our experience in the minor league cricket. So that's my advice, to get into the game, to support local tournaments in New York like this, especially if you're from New York, because it's small tournaments like this, it's local tournaments like this that really get the people going, really bring smiles to the people's faces, and really produce the next generation, as we're seeing, of players that move on to play in minor league and to play for the US and beyond.
Okay. Now, Lenny, we having, this is a huge tournament, and we having this tournament basically at the start of the New York season.
Yeah.
How do you think that kind of always, such a climatic kind of event happening so soon? What happens after?
Well, Anansi, I'm very happy that the competitions committee headed by Ramesh and of course Samuel and these guys, I think they have done a tremendous job. One of the bad things that exists in New York is that we don't have a marquee tournament here at all. We don't even have anything. You look at what's going on. For example, you go to Houston, Texas, and they have so many premier tournaments. They've got the Houston Open. You've got a lot of combined tournament. USA use that facility to do so many things. You go to Atlanta, there's the Atlanta Open. You go to Florida, then there's the US Open. Right now, as we speak, there is a week-long tournament playing called the Unity Cup in DC, in Virginia, actually. And so New York is left with nothing pretty much. And that is why this tournament here, the Guyana Cup, is one on the calendar for this year that I know of. It may not be another one. And I'm glad that that Samuel and Ramesh and company have decided to use a holiday weekend to make this a 2-day event, which tells me that they're really trying to utilize some of the time when people are available. And the holiday weekend is always a big one to organize tournament all across the United States. The Guyana Cup comes to the Memorial Weekend in New York, and that is why this is a very good gesture on behalf of the people who put this tournament together. We know who they are in association with the NYNCL, and I think this is a very good, from a promotional standpoint, good for New York at a time in which nothing really happens here.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that, Samuel. As to I know last year it was later down in the season. Why who went into the decision making as to bringing it down so early?
Well, Anansi, one of the key aspects, or one of the key discussions that we decided to bring this tournament so early would be the long holiday weekend, availability of players, and everyone is just excited to play cricket. For example, right now my phone's blowing up with players sending me messages that they're ready to go. So it's mostly based on availability, and being that it's a long weekend, it gave us the ability to set the tournament at a time where we know we're going to get that turnout that we're looking for. It's very important to us that we get the turnout and the support from the community. And those of you who can't make it to the ground, I'm sure you'll be able to follow us and the tournament live on our Guyana page, our Guyana Cup page. And of course, the game will be live on Crick Clubs, and also we'll be broadcasting through our commentary panel.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Anansi, if I can ask Samuel, I know in addition to the many cricketers showcasing their talent, I know, like, for example, umpires will get a chance to really umpire at the top level. Who are some of the umpires, do you know, appearing tomorrow?
Yes, we do have a panel of good and qualified umpires. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to... Actually, I should be, since this information is also available on Crick Clubs. Down at the pond, Baisley Pond, that match will be umpired by Nicholas and Badir. Down at the cage, we're going to have Shiv and Gavin, very experienced umpires down there. Shiv Sankar, who you guys all should know very well. And down at Drew Park, we have Kumar and Steve will be controlling the game down there.
Okay. All right. This is Bits and Pieces special. We're looking at the Guyana Cup coming up this weekend. All right. So we're going to play this promo. And when we come back, we'll have our closing words.
Lovely cricket this Memorial Weekend at the Cage and Paisley Pond in Jamaica, Queens, New York. The New York National Cricket League presents the Guyana Cup 2023. 6 teams, 9 games, 1 winner. See the best of the best in what is sure to be an exciting contest with the Demerara Eagles, the Purvis Lions, the Essequibo Jaguars, the USA Guyana Majestics, the Long Island Raptors, and the Queens Sharks. The Guyana Cup 2023 this weekend, May 27th and 28th.
Matthew, your closing words.
Like I said before, for the people in the New York area this weekend, especially those within the Guyanese community and beyond, really support this tournament. Really come out in your numbers. We should have good weather this weekend, Memorial weekends, and you'll have some great action. Lots of fun to enjoy. Like I said, we had a huge turnout last year, hoping for that and even more again this year. Across all 3 venues, really support the tournament. The organizers, Samuel, Ramesh, they've all done tremendous work in putting this together. And as my dad would have mentioned, there's not many tournaments like it in the New York area. So for those of you, whether it's Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, wherever it is, really come out this weekend, really show your support, and the tournament, the cricket, the action won't disappoint.
All right, thank you. Lenny, your closing word.
Yeah, this is the best for the time being we've got in New York. So I know your league is not playing tomorrow. It's not playing on Sunday. So a chance for you to really watch your friends and come out and support one of the teams. You've got 6 to choose from, and you've got 3 venues to go. It all will come down to the Paisley Pond Park Sunday afternoon. So you shouldn't miss this one for nothing. This is going to be a grand time. Guyana Cup 2 starts tomorrow.
All right, and I'll close out with Samuel. Any closing words?
Yeah, thank you, Anansi. To everyone who's been watching this podcast, let me just take this opportunity to say, tomorrow, Paisley Pond, the Cage, Drew Park, and Sunday are the places to be. If you're a cricket fan, come out to these games. If you're interested in cricket, come out to these games. It will not disappoint. Everything is being put in place. Actually, as we speak right now, we actually have crews wrapping up at each of these grounds, ensuring that the matting is down, that everything's in place for a 9 a.m. start sharp tomorrow morning. Come out, enjoy cricket. Anansi, thank you for having all of us here on your show and putting together this feature to broadcast Guyana Cup. We appreciate it tremendously. To Matthew and Lenny, it's a pleasure as always. Looking forward to the great job you guys do as usual. And to everyone, cricket is here. Let's enjoy.
All right. Well, I think that's a good phrase to go out with. Cricket is here. Let's enjoy, folks. It's on. It's Memorial Day weekend. The Cage, Drew Park, Paisley Pond. All right. Cricket. Lovely cricket. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. All right, and your insight. All right, Matthew, Lenny, Samuel. Good night, one, and thanks for Mr. Paul Passad, all the folks who were commenting, Nicholas Chinku, Vicky. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you all for watching, and this is all for now. Thank you again. That has been the Bits and Pieces, New York. All right, and to head out to the Guyana Cup tomorrow.
Lovely cricket this this Memorial Weekend at the Cage and Paisley Pond in Jamaica, Queens, New York. The New York National Cricket League presents the Guyana Cup 2023. 6 teams, 9 games, 1 winner. See the best of the best in what is sure to be an exciting contest with the Demerara Eagles, the Purvis Lions, the Essequibo Jaguars, the USA Guyana Majestics, the Long Island Raptors, and the Queens Sharks. The Guyana Cup 2023 this weekend, May 27th and 28th.